once you've got that covered in color, we are going to spatter some stars on here. And to do that, you can either use a stiff bristled paintbrush, or you can use an old toothbrush and get some straight white, which I've still got some untouched white here. Another good reason not to blend all of your color. You might want it later. Now I'm just going to mix a little bit of water in with this. I know it's a little blue because my rinse water is blue after rinsing my brush. But I water it down a little bit so it makes a finer spray. If you leave it thick, it doesn't spray on quite as nicely and tends to be a little more globby. But nice watered down white. I've got it on the end of my toothbrush bristles there. And I'm just going to use my finger and pull the bristles back. And when I let go, it's going to leave little spatters. You can put as many of these or as few of these as you like. One thing to be aware of is as you're doing this, watch the water in your brush, because if it's really wet and you're doing this, you might have a drip come right off of your toothbrush or your brush and run right down your painting. I don't know how many times I've seen that happen. And another thing to be aware of is watch out for what's behind your painting, because you can really spatter some things that aren't supposed to be spattered, that you didn't intend to spatter. So there, that's enough for me. Okay, I lied, one more. There. So there we go. We've got our little spatters on there, our stars. And the next thing we want to do is we've got some trees to put in. What we're going to do is mix up a really dark green color for our treetops. And it's going to be just green and black. That's all we will need for this. All right, some green. And again, remember, black is a really strong color and it will really darken quickly. So you don't need a lot of black. Black and red are very strong colors when you're mixing with others. You don't need a lot of them. All right, we're just going to mix up a nice dark green color. We want it dark green. We don't want it to be too black, because remember, we're going to be putting black around our letters here. And if our trees are really black, you're not going to really be able to see your lower letters, your M and your E, because it's just going to be all black trees and black background, and it's going to blend in too much. So we do want it to be green, but a dark green. All right, I'm going to brush off the excess paint. So I've just got some color on my brush. It's not globbed on real thick, no real big globs. And what we're going to do is we're just going to put some varied heights trees in here, little conifers. You can bring some all the way up to the top, some really short. So all you want to do is just start running a line down. Just planning out where you're putting them, how tall they're going to be. You can have some closer together, some farther apart. Up here. best to start over here. And we're just going to start with the corner of our brush. Start with it vertically to put the little tree top in. That's too much paint there. I'll take a little excess off. If you notice it coming on globby, wipe some of that extra paint off. We want nice leafy effects. I'm just going to start tapping in. Notice we're tapping. We're not brushing. We're not doing downward strokes. We're just tapping. Now see, if you've got too much paint on your bristles, you're not going to see all those nice little leafy effects from the bristles. They're just going to look like big globs. So that's why it's important not to overload your brush. Now you don't have to worry about going down all the way to the bottom because we are going to have some trees in there. We're just putting some nice little branches in there. And don't get too worried, too carried away with putting branches in, because you do want to make sure that you've got some space between them and you don't want to end up with one just big glob of branches. So that looks like it's good enough. We don't want to keep going and filling all of that in. So, corner of the brush, start working our way down. Now if you really like to have fuller trees with less space in there, you can stick a little closer to the, and keep your branches a little bit closer together as you go. But just make sure that you do have space between the different layers of branches. We don't want to end up with the kinds of Christmas trees that we would draw when we were in elementary school. We've grown up since then. Time our trees did too. Now don't be afraid to let the branches touch on your different trees here. They can hold hands with their neighbor. Not a big deal. All right, I think those look good. Time to put just our little trees in the bottom. A little bit more of this dark. We're just sticking with the same color. You may need to mix up just a little bit more of it, but we're just filling in a little bit here. Don't need to fill it all the way, we just want to get to the bottoms of the branches here, the bottom levels, bottom layers. And you notice I'm holding the brush vertically again. And I'm just filling in space here. These don't have to be pretty, they don't have to be sharp. We're just filling in some color here so that we look like we've got some forest floor here and not just wide open space. All right. I think that takes care of that. If you're feeling ambitious and you want to go through and put highlights on your trees and stuff, you can do that. It's really not necessary for this particular project. So we've got our trees in, we've got our Aurora Borealis in the background. You're going to want to let the wet paint dry before you start putting any charcoal on here, because what we're going to do is you're going to get a bit of charcoal and we're going to divide our canvas into 4 little quadrants here. And then we're going to sketch in our letter, one letter into each one. So we're going to have our little H here, O, M, E, or if you want to do like the love, L-O-V-E, whatever you want to do with that. Or if you just want to leave it, you can just leave it as it is. For one of my painting classes, we did the love word, but we did, instead of the O, we put a little paw print. So it was for the animal shelter fundraiser. So what you're going to do is let that dry. Once it's dry, we'll come back and we'll start using our charcoal. If you want to continue doing paintings with me, hit that subscribe button and you can keep up with me. Thanks.